Here we go. Let's get this done and dusted. The news review right here on the AM show. Pleasure to have you come along. Thank you for staying. Joining us for that discussion, Dr. Kwame Asah-Sante. Of course, he is a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana and a head of the Center for European Studies as well. Doc, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you, sir.
It's a pleasure having you as usual. How are you this Wednesday morning?
I'm good.
Okay. You seem to be in a very straight to the point mood this morning. There are a number of issues to discuss this morning, and I'll start with fuel prices, which are going up again. 8.29 at my last check, which was not what it was just a few days ago, which also means that what I purchased, which was at 8.16, I'm only hoping and praying if I check today, it wouldn't have gone up any further. On the back of happenings in Ukraine and what we're seeing with fuel prices, again, I had some members of parliament in the studio yesterday, and they agreed, they concurred that we shouldn't play politics with petrol prices or fuel prices and all of that. But we have a serious problem in this country. And that problem is that because of the system we run, our fuel prices can only go up. They never come down, contrary to what we meant with deregulation and the price stabilization levy. Doc, I know you're feeling the bite as well. What do you make of this? Because 8.29, that is critical. What do you think?
It's very, very unfortunate. We have said this time and again that we should reflect on this critically and find a lasting solution to this. Because take it or leave it, petrol drives the economy. So once we continue to have problems with fuel prices, we are going to have problems with general goods and services, and obviously will affect productivity. So I am sure, and I have no doubt in my mind, that we need to get up, look at these things, and find permanent solution. It seems to me that all that we have to this problem is just lip service. We say one thing, one point, another time, another thing is what we say. But look, we need to address this problem, because once we continue to depend on fuel, we will continue to have this problem, and the solution is what we need, a solution that will stand the test of time. I don't think it's beyond this country to find solution to this problem, except that we have not paid very serious attention to this. I am sure that we want to do the needful by looking at this issue critically and address it once and for all.
I'd like you to react to a few thoughts shared by your own colleague, the Dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of Ghana, Professor Raymond Atuguba, who has been sharing his thoughts at that Solidaire Ghana confab. And he has said that looking at the economic state of the country, if we don't do something quickly, we could be opening ourselves up, owing to our desperately broke economy, to coup makers and a coup, and that we ought to stem the tide of these. He also talks about the fact that the E-levy may be terrible and all of that, but we need it at this point in time to be able to shore up our economy. How do you react to those two comments? First of all, we are sitting on a time bomb when it comes to a coup, because basically we are not getting the economy right. Those are Professor Atuguba's words. And secondly, that on the back of that, we need the E-levy, bad as it is, terrible as it is, to be able to shore up our economy. Your quick reaction to those two issues.
Yes, the first one, issue about coup. It's a worrying situation. We can't run away from this. And I know and believe that it will not happen in this country. Never. Why am I saying that? This country has experienced a lot in terms of military dictatorship and whatnot. Soldiers, however, they want us to look at how they come into such situation and then tell people all manner of stories. Their regimes have never been the best that we have seen. And We have seen examples in 1966, 1972, and 1979, and the rest of it. Look, they will only come deceive us into believing that they have what it takes to turn the system around. But at the end of the day, they come back to do the very thing that they criticized the previous government of. It is true that when you look at sub-region, we have a number of coups happening, and partly blame on the economy, insecurity, and whatnot. But the Ghanaian situation, we have difficulties in our economy. I'm not sure that will warrant the stage of coups in this country, because democracy as it is, we know that one of the evils is that it has what we call reversals, that when democracy is not able to deliver the dividends that you and I want, then people want to go back to the old order. In other words, go back to authoritarian regime. But this country has seen a lot. So yes, much as we expect this democratic system to deliver the public good, and is not able to do as we expect, we are patient and we are guided by.
Are we that patient? I mean, I'm being realistic here. Aren't we burying our heads in the sand and pretending that everything is okay when things are not okay? Look, we have a living standard series. We go out there, people are bemoaning the high cost of everything, because once fuel prices go up, everything goes up. And people are saying, no, this is not what we want. This is not what we voted for. These are the people we speak to. These are the people we put on air. So are we being realistic? You and I, we don't want such a thing to happen because both of us know the implications. But for the ordinary man, he is thinking, look, I want a solution to my problem. Yesterday, someone sent a message while I was hosting the MPs that we don't care about NDC MPP. We just want the right things to be done. So if our economy is going bonkers and we don't deal with it, and we keep saying, it's happening to every other country. Not every other country is in the state we are, even on the back of COVID. So, Doc, what is a realistic way out of this situation?
Yeah, the realistic way is what we are doing. We are trying to find solutions to the economic problem facing us. And let us not forget that, yes, problem solving is not a day thing. We need to be reflective, we need to be sober, and we need to take important decisions. And right. I'm not sure we have lost sight of this. Hard as it will be, I'm telling you, that is the way to go. We need to be patient. Yes, though the times are hard, we are in economic difficulties, but the coup cannot be the solution to this. All right. So we need to fix the problems well, and then ensure that people get means of livelihood. Decisions that we take should be able to stand the test of time. And we should, speed up the process. For me, that is the way to go, right? Issues about coups are not panaceas to economic problems. No, the examples in this country is enough to tell us that, look, we've seen military regimes, they promise us heaven and earth and only come to disappoint us and abuse us and run away. We must, support this democratic cause. And then, yes, I'm aware of economic challenges. I can't, be oblivious of that. But we need to be, holders of political power need to be up and doing very fast and address some of the lingering challenges in no time, so that those with long-term solution will come later. For me, that is the way to go. Right. We are also aware that there are a lot of people without jobs and all that. And I'm sure government that we have had in this Fourth Republic are doing their best, except that it's not enough. This is a wake-up call to them that they need to double their efforts so that all of us will breathe a sigh of relief. I think that is the way to go. But for me, democracy, whether it is not able to deliver the public good, it is always the best to a military rule that you cannot predict behavior of soldiers in a minute.
And that unpredictability we're seeing across the sub-region. We are seeing it in Guinea, in Mali, and in Burkina Faso, where sometimes the military leaders say one thing, and before you know it, they're doing something completely different, changing the terms, shifting the goalposts and all of that. But it goes back to the point that when democratically elected leaders don't do what they ought to do, those sometimes create complications. Suleiman Abrahima, though, of the Media Foundation for West Africa, tweeted, and he said, with or without the E-levy, Ghana will be going to the IMF. The economy is collapsed. Don't blame COVID. COVID did not only happen in Ghana. All countries, including our neighbors, were affected by COVID. It's all because of corruption, mismanagement, and PR governance. But let's move on. Let's get into the papers, because some of the other issues I want to raise can be found right here. The Daily Graphic newspaper, Let's Green Ghana. That's according to the president, and we know about that drive to plant trees in the month of June, I believe. Green Ghana Day, and of course, Green Ghana Month, if you like. That story there, a major one, very important that we take our greening of Ghana seriously. There's also Consolidating Democracy, Council of State Speaker deepen ties. Your quick reaction to that story, though, Dr. Asasante, it's on page 16. We know that the Council of State has been engaging the minority and the majority caucuses in Parliament, and yesterday, in that interaction with the Speaker, he also brought to bear, together with Nana Otuo-Soribour, the chairman of the Council of State, some of what has been happening and why, his side and he himself have had to react in certain ways. He said, while we work behind the scenes to ensure that you succeed as the Speaker, that is Nana Otuo-Soribour, we also want you to ensure that you bring your vast experience as the longest-serving MP to bear on your work as the Speaker to promote peace, harmony, and consensus building. Do you think Parliament, our 8th Parliament, can manage this? Peace, harmony, and consensus building, considering that Joe Asewusu, the first Deputy Speaker, has said, if it comes to the vote again, E-levy, I will take off, my robes as first Deputy Speaker or as Speaker in the chair, and I will go and vote, which is what triggered that melee in Parliament the first time. And the minority has said, Honorable Muntaka has made it clear that they cannot guarantee that there will not be more violence if the first deputy or second deputy speakers do that. So looking at this, do you think this bit about peace, harmony, and consensus building, how do you feel is going to shape up?
Yes, before I do, there was a question on the E-levy thing.
Suleiman Abrahima, right.
Yeah, and the Professor Atuguba also touched on that we need to pass this. I support that call. Why am I saying that? Because we don't have resources now. My position, a different position, is that if you look at what economists and financial experts are saying, that we should work within 0.5 and 1%. That is where I am. Beyond that, I'm afraid I don't support that. But strictly speaking, I support the passage of E-levy so that we can rake in the necessary resources to run the affairs of the state. In the state,
but if you pay attention to what Suleiman Abrahima, for example, is saying, he's saying that E-levy or not, we're still going to go to the IMF. So why not? I mean, if you're going to go through the pain, why not take it now rather than later? We've had some members of the MPP, their own financial team, the Finance Committee of Parliament in the past, Dr. Sibe, say that the way forward is the IMF. Is it not just because our leaders, especially when it comes to economic management, don't want to tighten their belts and do the right things? They don't want the sort of microscopic view that the IMF would bring into this.
Yes, if we are talking about, going to the IMF, if it is the only option left for government, I'm not sure government will resist this. But government believes that, look, when we're able to pass E-levy, we'll be able to, deal with the problem. For me, I wait and see if this thing gets through and then see whether that can be enough for us to run the affairs of the state. So let's leave that one with them, because at the end of the day, they have the mandate to run the affairs of the state. So we expect them to do the needful and be able to be proactive and get us what we want. That is all that the ordinary man wants. Then the question of the position currently in Parliament, where we are saying that peace, harmony, consensus building is the way to go to address this problem of, heckles, bickering and then fisticuffs that people trade in Parliament that will address the problem. I know in theory that is it. But if you listen to what Muntaka, Honorable, and who are saying, all right, that is a stark reality. I don't support these blows and fisticuffs in Parliament. But you see, the main issue we have lost sight of this. The issue is who presides if the speaker is not around. And what is this position? Does he have the power to preside and cast his vote? That is a difficulty that we have. So I'm surprised that people are talking about, oh, let's, manage our egos. Let's see how we can, ensure peace and all that. The point that triggers all this is whether the person who will stand in for the speaker, in the case the speaker is absent, has the power to, sit and at the same time come and vote. And I'm surprised that people are looking at this as the only way to address the problem. For me, a lasting solution will only come from where people trigger the process in Supreme Court, and the court will look at it and rule on that. That settles it. Because once you don't have this, I can assure you, it doesn't matter how you appeal to members of Parliament.
Right.
At the end of the day, Muntaka has served notice. We are going to have that problem on our hand anytime there is also the effort by the deputy speakers to go and sit there and preside over. Because we have heard the deputy speaker, Mr. Joe was saying that nobody can take it from him, that he's representing a community, then he needs to also vote. That is where the battle is. So for me, the only way out is that we should get the courage and go to the Supreme Court, trigger the process, and let the court rule finally on this. And that will settle all the issues.
That will settle matters. On page 26 of the paper, the Daily Graphic, law needed to compel public officers to declare assets. That's according to Shraj. And stories to do with Ukraine. Put in measures to absorb returnee students. We know 17 of them arrived yesterday. Qatar Airways and then Turkish Airlines. And then there's Russia-Ukraine war. Ghana's position in sync with foreign policy. That's according to Professor Vladimir Inchidansu. But if you look at the raft of measures so far imposed by way of sanctions against Russia, Georgia has condemned what is happening. They have had a taste of Russian aggression, but they have stopped short of sanctioning the Russians owing to their own economic challenges. Finland, interestingly, in a tectonic shift when it comes to geopolitics, has decided to send arms to Ukraine, and they are hoping that the people there have voted for them to join NATO. U.S. President Joe Biden, in the State of the Union address, just mentioned a number of economic sanctions, even closing the air space of the United States to Russian airlines and all of that. Do you foresee that all of these eventually are going to have the impact that we suspect? In the sporting world, Russia has been banned from so many sports and all of that. What is your take on what is happening and all these sanctions?
Yeah, it's unfortunate we are in this quagmire. Sanctions, yes, they will impose, but I can assure you they will not work. Because if you look at Russia, the kind of infrastructure it has put in place and the kind of economy it has built for itself over the years, all right, it makes it very comfortable to depend on itself for a very long while. Look at the.
But how long is a long while? These matters have been debated on the BBC, Al Jazeera, and all of that. It has insulated itself, and some say nothing longer than some 4 to 6 months, because even you look at the economic sanctions, like the United States, withdrawing Russian vodka, withdrawing all kinds of things, ensuring that chips or technology needed by Russian, industry to do certain things don't get to them. I mean, for how long can they do that? It only the Russian stock exchange yesterday could not even open because their companies are taking a big hit, a big tumble on the stock exchange. So how long is long enough for Russia to sustain this?
Yes, we know that it cannot be long forever. Yes, definitely it will end. But even if it takes 6 months, how are the Ukrainians going to survive this war? Let's look at it from the point of view that Ukrainians are fighting an unfortunate battle with a nuclear power. It's a very difficult one. How, even if it's 6 months, Are they going to survive the assessment? For me, that is where I'm worried about, all right? Because look at all the military accoutrements. Look at the resources Russia has, and they are pushing this thing on Ukraine. Very difficult situation for Ukrainians. Now listen to BBC report and all that. Some places now are in short supply of food, water, and civilians. We are getting a lot of casualties and all that. Very, very unfortunate. So it's a difficult thing. And it's my hope and prayer that diplomacy will work. And then, Western powers, let us also not lose sight of the fact that they are also in difficult times, that Ukraine is not part of NATO, and yet they are supposed to go in a certain way and provide them with a certain support. That is difficult to manage, looking at the implications that one will have on the global community at large. It's a difficult one, but Europe is managing it. It doesn't matter how difficult it is. One way that can ensure something cool for them is the issue of trying to make sure that you create a safe passage for those who want to help Ukraine to be able to go in and help. Scholars and experts have said that the airway, the space must be secured so that no flight from other places, especially Russia, can enter into the airspace of Ukraine and whatnot. I believe these are the things that experts must look at it and look at it critically, because we are in a difficult situation. And I'm worried about the situation, especially when you have a very weak states, such as weak in terms of military might, fighting a nuclear state. It's very, very difficult. And I feel so sad that Ukraine is in such a difficult situation. But the Western powers are doing their bit. They need to intensify their efforts so that at the end of the day, Ukraine can breathe a sigh of relief. Very difficult.
There is quite an imbalance when you look at the two parties, Ukraine and Russia, but Ukraine itself, not a minnow when it comes to military armaments, if you look at the stockpiles they have. But let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. GIS begins admitting Ghanaians, dual nationals with valid Ghana card. We're told 14 of them. And the Ghana Immigration Service yesterday began to admit Ghanaian and dual national passengers on a valid Ghana card to Ghana. This follows the official recognition of the Ghana card as an international civil aviation organization compliant travel document. And that is on page 7 of the paper. Community policing units to be established nationwide. That is also on page 7 of the paper. But let's get into this matter to do with Sarah Adwoa Safo. The first deputy speaker has basically disowned her. The majority leader as well. They say that they cannot depend upon her as far as the party is concerned. It's been suggested that the majority leader has intimated that nowadays he can no longer call her, that she said he should put a cease or bring some cessation to calling her and only send messages. It has also been alleged by the Member of Parliament for North Tong, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, that 1 million Ghana cedis, approximately, was spent on flying Sarah Adwoa Safo on that private jet into Ghana on the back of the E-levy vote. This is where it gets crucial for some Ghanaians. We're talking about tightening our belts. Fuel prices are ticking like nobody's business, and we're squeezing, saying that we need an E-levy. On the other hand, we supposedly have put some 120,000 in her account. We've spent about 1 million Ghana cedis trying to get her into the country. Does that make any sense at all, Doc?
Let us look at it from this perspective, that this is just an allegation because we have not had proof of this. But if it happens to be true...
Well, we have the flight details and everything. When she was in the country in December. We're not talking about... We're talking about December.
Are we sure? But the question is, are we sure that it is the state that is sponsoring this? That is where the difficulty lies. Right?
So the confirmation there is critical, right?
Fine, but I agree with Mr. Ablakwa that, yes, if there are other individuals who want to know the work that they do, the resource they have, their tax obligation and all that, these are appropriate questions. But now the difficulty is that whether it is the state that is funding this. If it is the state, then it's very, very unfortunate because, look, We need resources. Look at how we are crying for resources, and we get some, and we are spending them in this manner. That becomes a very difficult decision for us to take and for us to accept. And I think the processes that minority, particularly Mr. Okujetu and his friends, are trying to trigger, it's in order, because we can deepen the frontiers of our democracy when we work with the institutions, the rules, the procedures, the norms, and all that. Let them come out to come and debunk or accept, and then we'll move from there.
Is that not the problem? Because usually when it comes to such, the largesse of the state and how money is expended, it seems pretty easy for officers of state, trying to get the paper trail in a country like Ghana, to tell you maybe it was privately financed when it actually could be state money, taxpayers' money. So that is the problem, isn't it? The fact that even when you want to get to the bottom of it and find out whose money, was it other people's money, like that movie? Was it our money? Or was it someone within the party who sponsored this? What do you feel is likely? Would an individual sponsor this kind of event? 120,000 in the person's account, 1 million Ghana cedis, just to get this person on ground in Parliament to vote. Where realistically would this go?
Yeah, if we are looking at people who are funding this, which Mr. Ablakwa and friends want us to believe they are pursuing that cause, it's a legitimate cause, because, look, we want to find out their sources of income and the how far they honor their tax obligations. We want to know, because if you have such people with such resources, then they must be in a position to discharge their tax burdens accurately and all that. So it's a legitimate call, but the difficulty is, as you have pointed out, how are we going to arrive at the truth? But I believe institutions are in this country which they are depending on, like the Office of the Special Prosecutor and whatnot. Once those institutions come in, I am sure we will get to the truth and then find a lasting solution to this problem.
Hopefully the truth will set us free. Two quick matters I'm just going to run by you. The NDC has petitioned the Commonwealth, citing the fact that its members are being targeted and all of that. A lengthy document sent to the Commonwealth of Nations. How do you react to that? Fair? Hypocritical? What do you think of that?
It's a difficult one, in the sense that giving some of the things that their demands that they want the Commonwealth to do for them. I'm wondering whether the Commonwealth will be in a position to do that. For instance, come and find out whether the judicial system is operating in line with the dictates of the Commonwealth tradition with regard to the judicial processes and all that. It's going to be daunting task for Commonwealth of Nations. And the issue about the fact that, some people are being persecuted and all that, that's the opinion. But all these things are going to be somehow difficult for the Commonwealth as a body to manage it. After we have gained independence for so many years, we are on our own doing a lot of things and all that. But let us bear in mind that I'm not a lawyer, so I will not be able to know all the intricacies here. But I think that, yes, for democracy, your duty is to be able to air your views, air your grievances, to appropriate institutions that will handle them for you. So on one breath, I see it as one of the efforts to deepen the democratic process that we have on the part of the NDC. I commend them for that, but as to whether they will be successful, I don't know. I wait and see how it pans out, so that at the end of the day, those of us who are students of politics will learn from this and make informed decisions that will help this country going forward in such matters. Final
bit, Doc, on a very light note. The 2021 Population and Housing Census has revealed that some 553,065 people or couples are divorced, and 405,090 are separated or have been separated. That is a little less than 10% if you look at the divorce rate. But does that shock you that just about 10% of those who have had marital unions are no longer together in this country?
For me, it's not new because we see this time and again, except that we have not got proper data. So now that we are getting data, for me, it reflects the situation on the ground. But when you are seeing divorce, then it points to certain things. For instance, what triggers all these processes is something that is worth pursuing. Another point is that we want to also know the effects of children in such homes and how society is able to take care of them. We are going to have difficulties with managing children from such homes because, look, there is no home, so to speak, for them. And how do you ensure that they go through the socialization process to become the best for their society? A very difficult work for the state and, for that matter, social welfare and the country at large. We want, as a society, to look at this issue, not just a general issue, a social issue, but it's an issue that borders on the very survival of the state. If you want the state to survive, we need to make sure that homes are safe. Yeah, divorce may come, but let us see that when there is divorce, children who are caught in that type of trap are protected and defended by the state and given resources for them to develop to become the best of themselves and for their society. That, for me, is the critical question that we need to address.
And keep being the best you are for our Ghanaian society. Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us this morning for this conversation. We wish you the best of the day.
Thank you.
All right. Dr. Kwame Asasante there joining us for the news review. Up next, sports, where Russia is being bombarded from all angles. But the details will be brought to you by Muftau Nabida Abdullahi. He's up next with sports. Do stay.